Hello, my name is Zwicky. This recording is being made on Quadra Island off the west coast of North America. I'll be reading poems from at least a couple of books, The Long Walk and Robinson's Crossing, and if there's time, possibly some new work. Depth. You come from the same direction that they did, the misinformed, the would-be heroes, unfirst European sons who knew how much a pickaxe weighed, the ones who didn't. 100 years later, and it's morning still, sun at your back, you're driving down the highway, rich and female, in your unimaginable car. 2, 3, half a dozen elevators at each siding once, sometimes the same red as the box cars, more often white, and the one your mother's generosity has helped preserve, the one that's cresting the horizon there in the right-hand corner of your windscreen, is a faded grayish green. Alberta wheat pool, Pioneer, Searle, UGG, thousands of them in the middle decades of the century. Last count in Alberta, 169. 2000, the year they started raising funds to save it, they made a postcard, got a grant to pay a kid to sit all summer at the office desk in case of tourists. There were none. A memory of its dimness, brilliant squares of August sunshine that the wagon entered from and drove back into, shafts and levers creaking, an immense Cartesian animal. Your mom says it was 1999 they closed all 3 and then tore down the other 2. Weeds and the windows broken, even the little one 5 stories up. The shockwave of that dream of ownership, that failure of connection, whose real name we refuse. Still passing through, still passing through. Violence descending with the northern twilight, Saturday night, and nothing to do. That craziness, its disordering of hope. It deranged us all, 3 generations, sometimes 4. The picket fence, the pasture and its spotted cows, abstracted finally to something more like cold, hard cash. 4? Well, maybe that vacation, we could get away, or get an RV or an iPad, get a wall-sized LCD. Weeds again now. Frost fence. The windows on the tower boarded up. A small rock through the bottom left-hand pane beside the office door, stopped by the sheet of plexiglass inside. 100 years, and it's still August. Sky the dusky blue that means dry heat. Edward Hopper, what's to tell? Everything's just fine here. Ordinary as hell. Main Street, vacant, clean. The dollar store closed up, the chiropractor and the flower shop. You drive to Whitecourt now or buy online. The co-op and the Rexall still in business, but the parking lot unused. 2 half-tons and a single car perched at the curb. Clean inside, too. Linoleum lustrous, dark and unmarked, forest green. But she was right, my mom, to try to save the elevator. Loyalty isn't clinging, it's a way to know. Long love, its fragile afterlife. Details that we can't forget. What's coming won't be human if it has no ghost. Near. It arrives, the far dream that terrified us, that put the steel in our forearms and we woke each morning to its distant shuddering, is far no more. Heavy-limbed, it sprawls across the daylight, brushes back the damp hair from our foreheads, stares and laughs. And the axle of our will is seized, the wheel splintered, an engine that does not turn, and when we go below decks, find it is missing, a hollow, a dark sift of emptiness, and the ferry is slammed against its moorings, helpless, the contagion spreading, and the one who knows, the one who has been readied, is absent from the table. Near is the hard grief, the grief from the pit, whose hands shake, which cannot find the knife, which cannot stand or kneel or lie, the grief that is tearless, that gags, the clear-cut, the dead zone, the gas-contaminated well, the salt earth, the foreign investment protection, the child soldier, the rape, the spin, the addiction to speed, the saving of labor, the image, the genetic modification, the electromagnetic field, the sense of entitlement, greed. The present is thick-lipped and stunned. It sweats. The voice of the century is a wild clanking, a loose stink that lifts and settles in our mouths. Did you raise your hand? Did you say something? Louder. Louder. This is a poem called 7 Last Songs. Unsurprisingly, it's in 7 parts. In the midst of the smoke that will come, be here. You must be the flame that burns without remainder, your vision that clear. Don't wait. Begin now. When you are the last being on earth who remembers some passage of music, exult. Let amazement consume you. The mark of truth, its scar, is love. Late summer, even at midday, the shadows thick across your path, their brilliant blacks, the weightless honey of the light, who has no home. Your species, intent on taking every other with it, or so you want to say. It makes it easier, a target for your disbelief. In the darkness, at last a kind of peace, a reading lamp, a night breeze ruffling the branches of the maple. You sleep then from exhaustion. Terror topples like a great slack wave above you. Yet there, at first light, the sundial, dewy, mute, dark berries of salal, the seed heads of the sweetgrass, shimmering, who has no knowledge of the future. You. There is no time for grief now. See the maple lift its leaves into the river of the afternoon, the swallow twist and arc away. Hatred, greed, a love of violence. Every day the shouts draw closer. Every day the faceless agents of the state no more. Testosterone, its jousts and brawls, its consorts. Don't pause. There isn't time for fear. Walls will be useless. Sing if you know how. Sing. Nothing is more real than beauty. Here is the stuff of which all art, all thought is made. Onions drying in the August sun, the huckleberry heavy with its glassy load, melons heavy, grapes, and when the rains come, chanterelles. You're worn out with your peasant labors, and your hands have swelled, too thick for making music. Rejoice, you will survive the winter. There, the jars of plums, the braids of garlic, lit from within, the way the world is, which is what your life, like every life, was made to see. When I knew it, the trees were bright with birdsong, and bees gathered in the lavender long afternoons. Pale swallowtails flocked to the lilac, and the spruce grouse strutted on the ridge. But a cancer that was sleeping in the bones of living things turned murderous. Human beings could not stop themselves. And in the ruins that they made, they became the naked animals they were. Howling with loss, they fled into the night, voices tarred with disaster. The first heavy rains of fall, the first dark days, half-ripe tomatoes splitting on the vine, rot in the wasp-hollowed windfalls. The need for blood, for fame, for more and more and more, for status in the eyes of other men, fat seeds of extinction. Your heart, drenched or swept bare, you're not sure which, sunless its corridors, it calls without answer for more light. Call it strife, call it thanatos. Where there's life, there's death. Where there's love, there's death. Where there's death, there's being. You are jacklit by the facts and do not hear the melody, the merciless light that is the source of mercy. Deer, 5 of them at dusk, drifting by the garden's edge. They have killed the native currant. They have killed the thimbleberry. They would kill the cedars, native too, but for your schemes and artifice. Immaculate they are, and beautiful, irrevocably themselves. Thank you.